I'm Greg Hunter. Welcome to USAWatchdog.com. We are unfortunately back on the Hammer surveillance system subject. The Hammer has been proven by Kevin Shipp, former CIA officer and intelligence analyst and a counterintelligence expert. It is a total fraud. He has proven it with witness testimony from the lead investigator, Mike Zullo, from court documents, in every way you can prove that this is a scam. And yet, this thing has now been kicked into overdrive. There's a new story out. If you Google, Hammer fraud, Dennis Montgomery, Hammer surveillance, Hammer hoax, Dennis Montgomery. What pops up at the very top? A new story about why don't we listen to the real whistleblower? The real whistleblower story, Dennis Montgomery. The Hammer archives, Dennis Montgomery, the Hammer and the hard drives. There's a new video out, and the new video is about why won't they cover the real whistleblower story? Because Hammer is a hoax, and so is Dennis Montgomery. To come on and talk about why in every Google search that it's popping up at the top of the Google search from relatively unknown sources and brand new videos being slickly produced about the Hammer. My question is why? And the guy to answer that question is Kevin Shipp, as I just brought up. Kevin, thanks for joining us today on USAWatchdog.com. Why are they kicking the Hammer hoax into overdrive?
Hi, Greg. It's always great to be with you. Well, this story has been proven false repeatedly. There's no question about it. We provided, as you mentioned, court documents and other very solid evidence that Mary Fanning and several others were claiming that Dennis Montgomery had produced 47 hard drives that contained information on a massive CIA spy program called the Hammer. They also claimed that there were 600 million pages of spying information on American citizens in the possession of Dennis Montgomery. It has turned out that that is completely false. We've proven it false with documents, witness testimony, a plethora of court documents, and other information that are available out there for people to see. So it's fake. It's false. It's a false story. And yet it's being pushed all the way to the top of now claiming that it was part of the surveillance on Trump. And that's pretty serious because it's getting up to that level. And let me mention, Greg, I've given the opportunity to the people promoting this story to provide me a statement of their side of it or their evidence, especially before coming on your program. And I promised I'd share their views or their statements on the air. None of them have responded. None of them have been able to present any evidence countering the evidence that I've put forward. Nothing, zero, have not done any of that. Their story keeps morphing. After we disproved the 600 million pages of information, the 47 hard drives, we proved that Dennis Montgomery is a documented fraud and con man facing criminal charges right now. After all of that, this story keeps morphing and they keep pushing it up. Like you said, somehow it got to number 2 in a Google search, which is interesting. And I'll talk about that.
I mean, the latest information, the latest video, the latest stories. I mean, this is beyond the original players that you have basically said, listen, your story's full of holes.
Yeah.
And this is beyond them, and this is nothing against them personally, but this is and then you got, and just so you know, here, let me read this to you, because this has gotten tweeted out. This has gotten repeated by people, by big people, which I don't really want to name. Here's in this story. This is the nexus of this latest story. Okay, the real whistleblower story: Dennis Montgomery, the Hammer, the hard drives, the wiretapping of Trump, and the prosecution of General Flynn. These people are alleging falsely that they used the Hammer to go after General Flynn. That's a lie.
Yeah. And they're
is that right? Is that a lie? Is that a hoax?
That is a lie. That is a hoax. It is not true. We've proven that their story is false, and yet they push this, Greg, all the way up to the defense team of General Michael Flynn, which is serious. Had they bit on that, it could have affected Flynn's entire defense and could have damaged it badly. That's how high they're pushing this thing. And they're coming out now and they're saying that Dennis Montgomery is 100% reliable, when I've proven beyond any doubt that he is a fraud and a con man, all documented from multiple sources. So what are they doing now? They're attacking me for bringing out the evidence. Me and others like Mike Zullo and Sharon Rondeau, they're attacking us because we've exposed this, and yet they're providing no evidence to support their claims. So they've gone after us as a target. They've been saying I'm a liar, once CIA, always CIA. They've been saying I'm covering for the deep state, which of course gets my dander up because I suffered greatly exposing the deep state. They've been attacking Mike Zullo, claiming that he manipulated them when they did the investigation. They're calling Sharon Rondeau a tool of the deep state now. They're accusing me of defamation.
But never, ever any information that says, hey, you said this, that information's wrong.
Never.
Mike Zullo was the chief investigator at the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. He was the top guy. They're trashing him. And why do you think they're trashing him? Because he hired former NSA people to go on the record to say that there's nothing on these 47 hard drives. That was the key to this story.
Yeah,
I've heard this over and over again. The key to this story that there's 47 hard drives of 600 million pages. False.
Absolutely false.
False pages of nefarious.
Proven false.
Yeah, proven.
Proven
Is that
false.
why they're going after him?
They're going after Mike Zullo because Mike Zullo has the actual documents where the two NSA people and their signed statement came out after their investigation and called Dennis Montgomery a fraud, and the information on the 47 hard drives false. Mike Zullo was there. He was the chief investigator. He has those documents with the signatures on them. He's got the actual evidence. So, of course, they're going after him because he's got the factual information that refutes what they're saying.
Now, there were a couple of thumb drives, but that had nothing to do with the 47 hard drives.
I did a program on those other thumb drives, and people can go and check that out too.
But that was, just so you know, that was never mentioned as part of the hammer. That's just some data.
They have never mentioned it. They have never brought up these thumb drives. They had never brought up the recording of Tim Blixeth, who got his information from Montgomery, which is suspect. But they never mentioned these two thumb drives. They have been pushing these 47 hard drives, the 600 million pages of information, all of which I have proven patently false.
And you think they're going after you and other people, and this is not just the original players. This is some higher deal. They've produced this slick video. All of a sudden, this slick video comes out, where they're talking about, oh, hooray for the deep state. Yeah, well, the deep state is real, as you know, the shadow government. And you wrote a book all about it, which is a very popular book. It could have been written, I don't know, this week with everything going on. It explains how evil these people are. That they're going after you guys, and they're going after you guys because you can prove. And this isn't just the original players. This is a higher. I don't know how they're juking the SEO, the search engine optimization results on Google, but somebody somewhere has some high-powered experience and connection somewhere to make a little-known, a journalist, if you want to call them that, reporter, a whatever you want to call them, and this website that you can't even tell who it's owned by when you take a look for about, the American, what is it? I don't know what it is. The
American Report.
American Report. Who has? I can't even find anything on it. How does this float to the top of a Google search on an important story like this about Dennis Montgomery? I just Googled hammer, hoax, Dennis Montgomery. What pops up? All this other stuff. I mean, the video, all these other stories that basically laud this guy as some sort of, he's the real, why aren't we talking about the real whistleblower? What, is this gone into what is this? Is this some sort of a psyop? This is more than just a few people, plugging a story that has that's already got a bunch of holes in it.
Well, yeah, it has all the markings of a psyop. Now, they're accusing me, of course, defamation. When they've defamed me left and right, of course, we've defamed no one. We brought out the facts and the evidence regarding this story, period. But this is the oldest dirty trick in the book of a psyop. What you do is you call your enemy what you're doing. You call your enemy a fraud because you're engaged in a fraud. The Soviet Union used this all the time. They accused the United States of what they were doing. So this has all the markings of a psyop, and it's gone up to higher levels to some kind of puppet master that got this little story from a little known reporter with a story that's been proven completely false. It got up to number 2 in a Google search. There is something bigger.
Over and over again. Other people, and here's the other thing.
Yeah.
Other people are picking this up. about how this is how they went after General Flynn. This is the real system. Here's how they one of them. Hold on a minute. It says hold on just a second here. Get it. I'll read the headline. Obama's secret weapon. Whistleblower Obama deep surveillance program. A hammer, key to the coup. This is all the first page or two of YouTube. Who is pushing this and why? And it's not just the original play. This is far beyond, this slick video and this huge, a push on YouTube. Who's pushing this? Who do you think is pushing this? Why would they push this?
That is the big question, because the story is ridiculous, and not just is it ridiculous, it covers the real spying that was going on, the 7.2s and other things like that. So why are they?
We're talking about the 702s. The real abuse was the abuse of the FISA. Section 702, where they abused the intelligence gathering. Everybody was having a party. They had all kinds of contractors. They had foreign spy agencies, people inside the Obama administration. Everybody was tap dancing on, right? I mean, that's what. Really happened.
That's right. And the FBI had access directly to the NSA surveillance database. The FBI gave that information to private contractors who abused it. That's the real story. This ridiculous story that has been proven false is diverting attention away from the real story and the real coup. And this puppeteer, whoever is doing this at higher levels, knows that this story is going out and being picked up by all the pseudo podcast hosts out there in the alternative media. They're all reporting it as true, and it's spreading the propaganda just the way they want it to do.
Well, this showed up in Q. Now, Q doesn't need. I mean, I think Q tries to put out real information.
Yeah.
Okay. But I actually saw this end up in some Q threads.
I did too.
I mean, they're being duped. Q's being duped.
Yeah, they are being duped, Greg. And I've given speeches with some Q people there. They're wonderful people. They're patriotic people. The Q people are. And I think Q's even mentioned me in a post that I put out. Once again, the Psyop. They're trying to get this into the Q population and deceive them to make this thing spread like it's a virus. That is what they're doing. That is why I consider this a Psyop. And I think it's pretty obvious.
We're going to do two parts here on this. We're going to get into the one big coup later in part two. Just to let all you know this. They have. It's not my imagination. This has been kicked into overdrive.
Yeah, I agree.
Why?
I agree. What's driving this? Why are they doing this? Is there some entity trying to divert attention away from the real coup against President Donald Trump that is going on now, and the real spying we just talked about that's happening? Is this an effort by a higher entity trying to divert attention away from the real story? From my counterintelligence background, it's almost like this information was derived from Russian intelligence. Some of the information that Montgomery claimed he had looks like an intelligence op, and wouldn't the perpetrator of the coup and the spying against Donald Trump, wouldn't a perpetrator like that like to come up with a psyop like this to divert attention away from what they were doing? That is what this looks like.
Okay, Kevin Shipp, we're going to be doing another part tomorrow, and it's about one big coup from the Mueller report, and the president is some sort of Russian spy, which is ridiculous, to the media. I don't know how they're ever going to recover from this. To this whole impeachment, trial. We're going to be doing more of this tomorrow. A big fold-out story, but just so we stick a stake in the heart of this Hammer hoax. This is a lie. This is a provable lie. And this is not just you. It's Mike Zullo. Now there's another journalist, some other journalist is going about this from the CIA angle that says this is a Hammer, H-A-M-R or H-A-M-M-E-R, as it commonly talked about with Dennis Montgomery. You also contacted Dennis Montgomery.
I contacted Dennis Montgomery, gave him an opportunity to comment before I did this program as well. And of course, no response.
Wow, this is such a a story of national importance that you can't get anybody to talk about it.
Right.
I just come on and tell me where I'm wrong is what you're asking them.
Yeah, yeah. But if you got evidence that counters the evidence that we have, we would love to see it because we're after the truth.
And
Just please show us, provide it to us. And they've given us nothing, not even a sliver of any information.
any information that counters what you're saying, that's a
Right.
hoax. Okay,
Correct.
and then this is you started doing this, and this has kind of grown and grown and then Mike Zullo ended up the chief investigator at the core of the story, at the core where the 47 hard drives were, where the allegation that there's 600 million pages. He's told you in no uncertain terms that's false.
Yes. Oh, he has, and he has the documents to prove it. Yeah.
I don't understand how a story this poor and why people, and there's a variety of people and it's growing. They're hanging on to this. I don't know if because, oh, the hammer, it's a cool word. You know, it's like Green New Deal. When you look at the Green New Deal, it's like, oh my gosh, it's a disaster. Oh, the hammer. I mean, so total BS. Total psyop. The hammer psyop is intensifying.
Yeah.
The hammer hoax psyop intensifying. Would that be a good title for this?
I think so. Yes. Yes. And every time the hoax is disproven, it morphs and they come out with more false information.
And then they attack. Why do you think they're attacking you and Zullo and anybody that has a story on that says, whoa, this is totally fraudulent?
Well, if somebody's exposing you, if you're engaged in a psyop or any sort of fraudulent activity and somebody exposes that, what are you going to do? You're going to go after that person. Common. You're going to try to destroy their credibility because you can't touch their evidence, which obviously they cannot do that. They've been given opportunities to do, and they haven't done anything. You can't touch the evidence because the evidence is solid and sound. So what do? You go after the person. You try.
That says it's a hoax. You can't touch the evidence.
Can't touch the evidence. Can't touch the hoax. So what do? You go after the person that revealed the evidence and try to destroy them. It is the oldest psyop trick in the book, and it's even used in court cases. If you want to provide a screen from the evidence or make the evidence ignored or deflect it, you go after the person that did the investigation and provided the evidence, and that's what they're doing to me.
You have a 21-minute video or so, your latest, your greatest. I mean, it has quotes from Mike Zullo. It has court documents. It has testimony. I mean, you basically burn this hoax thing this hammer hoax to the ground. That's going to be in the after the interview sections for you people on YouTube. Go up to the right through. It says all links are found on USA Watchdog. Go there after the interview. You can take a look at your Dennis. You can take a look at Kevin Shipp's very detailed analysis that proves without beyond any reasonable doubt this is a hoax. Before I go, how do they get these big people? I mean, you have Ace Lyons, who is now passed away, who's an admiral. You've had other big people. I don't want to name them, but you've had other big people get involved in this. Is that a part of the psyop to get big people and their reputations to sign on to this to try to make their phony story more real?
Well, it is, and I can tell I was a friend with Admiral Lyons, and Admiral Lyons was a hero. They're using Admiral Lyons, a man that has passed away, who can't come out with this new information and reveal it. I know Ace Lyons, if he found this stuff was a hoax, he would come out full bore against it, of course, but they're using his name. He's passed away. What has happened is, once again, it's a psyop. It's a complex deception. They've run Mary Fanning's article by all these well-known people. They've looked at it. It is such complex deception. They looked at it and said, because most of this, if not all, is based on Mary Fanning's article. They looked at it and thought, whoa, yeah, this looks true. This has to be true. So every single one of them came out supporting Fanning's story, and they fell right into the psyop trap. Now their names are being used as name dropping to try to legitimize the hammer story. You can drop names until the cows come home. It does not have any impact on the evidence that proves it's false. Dropping names does not change the evidence. It does not change the facts.
Kevin Shipp, tell me about your website. Tell me about your what you do to try to. You lost your pension. You have a website right now for the loveoffreedom.net, I believe it is.
Right.
You've got a way for people to donate to you via Patreon or a snail mail or PayPal on your website. You also have a Patreon account where you do an intelligence briefing, and then you have notes on your for the loveoffreedom.net system. There's something new every day there. Tell me about your Patreon briefing and your intelligence briefing.
Yes, thank you. On patreon.com/Kevin_Shipp is where they can find it. And what I do on the Patreon channel, I did this on purpose to break away from YouTube's manipulation, demonetizing of all my videos out there. I went with Patreon because there are no advertisers. There's no influence on the content that I put out whatsoever. So I talk directly full bore about the things the mainstream media is covering up, and there's no one who can censor me. There's no advertiser that can put any pressure on me. But the entire show depends on the monthly sponsorship of the members, and we're growing a great community of patriots. I get wonderful messages from everyone, so it's going really well.
Okay, good. And this is just part one of this. Part two is coming up tomorrow. And we're going to talk about the coup, from the Russian hoax to the scam of impeachment. It's really just one big coup, correct?
Correct. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
You're going to enlighten us on that tomorrow.
You bet.
This is a special deal. Usually I come out Wednesday and Wednesday and Friday and an early Sunday release. But we're doing a bonus thing today, and you're going to be the reason why we're doing it. Kevin Shipp, we will see you tomorrow. Kevin Shipp for the loveoffreedom.net is the website. He writes something every day right at the top. I believe it's called Shipp's Notes. Is that right?
The Shipp Brief.
Shipp Brief. Sorry. Shipp Brief, and it's something where you can go there, every day. And I know you're working on your website. You're going to make it better and better in the future. Kevin Shipp, thank you for joining us today on USAWatchdog.com. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you, Greg.